Sometimes we can get caught in these loops of judgment, judging others, judging ourselves. Why do we judge others? Why do we judge ourselves? Well, part of it is due to our conditioning from everything, right? The entertainment industry is showing us how to think, how to act, how to eat, what to do, how much money we should make, what kind of clothes to wear. And so we have these false notions, these false conditions of how people should be or how people should act. And that applies to ourselves as well. And it also comes down to not being able to accept people for who they are. We're trying to compare what is to what we think it should be. But it shouldn't be anyway. It is what it is. We have to learn how to accept ourselves, forgive others. How can we forgive ourselves? Well, we have to remember, we can only act based on our chemistry and our conditioning and our level of understanding ever. Any decision we've ever made was the only decision we were ever going to make. So we have to be gentle on ourselves, and that applies to others as well. We let acts that others have done to us or words they've said to us fester inside of us, and we let it get to us. Oh, that person said this to me. I can't believe that person said this to me. Well, what's a good strategy to deal with that? Well, we got to remember, chaos begets chaos. So if we're constantly feeding our mind with chaos, it's going to be easier for our mind to grab hold of these things and keep going. So we have to surround ourselves with peace. We have to watch our diet, not only what we're eating, but what we're taking in, what we're watching, what we're listening to, what we're putting on our skin, what we're drinking, everything, because all that can affect the tranquility or non-tranquility of the mind, and that leads to judging. If we have a mind that's constantly aggravated due to acids, chemistry, or due to taking in the shock value of the news and the entertainment, then we're going to be more likely to get the machine going, the judgment machine going, for others and for ourselves. So we need to facilitate a state of peace all around us and everything we take in. So how do we stop judging? Well, we have to stay present. It always comes back to the same thing. It's a big loop. Presence and purification. We have to learn to accept what is and stop resisting what is. We have to realize that the paradigm we've been given, we've been programmed with, is just, it's a wrench in the natural machine of peace and surrender and acceptance. We have to accept people the way they are. There is no proper way to act, really. That's just a program. We have to stop resisting what is. That's where judgment comes in. And we have to forgive ourselves. How do we facilitate a method of almost instant forgiveness? By taking the perspective of people can only act based on their chemistry, their conditioning, and their level of understanding. Ever. We're just nature running off. That's it. We're not even in control, you could say, in a sense. So when we're festering, when we have someone's actions or words festering inside of us, like our boss is nasty, our boss is mean. This happened to me. And it's just like really aggravating you and you're really holding on to it. Well, we gotta facilitate a peaceful state of mind. We have to come back to presence. We got to remember that people project their inner states outwards. It's not you. They're not nasty because of you. They're nasty. They're just projecting themselves. So what I like to do when something triggers me, when we get a trigger, we immediately come back to presence. We say, okay, try your best to just let it go and go back to presence, because it doesn't matter. If someone cuts you off and you're just like, ah, and you say, oh, it's done. It was always going to happen. Whatever happens was always going to happen because it happened, right? So we take all of these bits and pieces and we can kind of build a strategy for peace, right? We focus on purification. We detoxify our body. We try to remove as many acids, aggravating acids as possible. We try to take in peaceful things, peaceful music, healing sounds. We try to avoid watching chaos, watching the news, too much social media. That's chaos. That's going to aggravate the mind. Some people say, I can't stop thinking. Help, I can't stop thinking. When I meditate, my thoughts are going crazy. Why? Chaos, acids, chemistry, conditioning, chaos. We're taking what you take in. You are what you eat. You are what you take in. If you're listening to negativity, if you're listening to negative music and you're watching negative programming and violence, what do you think is going to happen to your mind? It's going to be hard to have a peaceful state. Everything's connected. I always come back to the same point. So we start over here, we end up coming back to the center. Always come back to the center. Stand in the center of the circle, the Tao Te Ching. What does that mean? Stand in the center of the circle. It means be the observer always. Part of conquering our triggers is to stop identifying with the game and start being the loving observer. If someone's acting irrationally or negative, don't identify with that. Don't cling to that, but observe it. Remember, we're just nature running off. People, the way someone treated you in the past, which you may be hung up on, just let it go, because guess what? They're acting the only way they could have ever possibly acted. That's the only way they could have ever acted. If someone made a bad decision that impacts you, that's just part of the game. That's part of karma. We're just karma running off. That's it. We're just nature running off. It all comes back to the same thing. Get to the center of the circle. Become the loving observer. Become peace. Become serenity. Surround yourself with peace and serenity. Purify the vessel. The two greatest devotions to God. Purification, because our vessels are God. The goal is presence, so we can allow the divine creator to flow through us and do the acts of God. It all comes back to the same thing. So how do we stop judging? How do we stop overthinking? How do we stop negative thoughts? Sometimes you have to let it ramble a bit. That's how I found out, because sometimes you just got to let it work through its noise. You got to let the brain, let the monkey mind just work through it and try to observe. You're like, oh, just let it flow, right? And when something triggers you, come back to the center. Say, oh, okay, that happened. It's okay. Let it go. Oh, something in me is getting triggered. That's okay. I accept what is. I accept what is. I accept people how they are. There's no specific way that person's supposed to be, that person's supposed to act, that person's supposed to dress. Everything is exactly how it was always ever going to be. We're just nature running off. So remember, if we want to calm the mind, if we want to try to stop judging others and ourselves, if we want to facilitate a state of forgiveness and peace and love within ourselves, it all starts with presence and purification. We have to embody peace. We have to learn accepting the natural play that we are watching. Remember, we don't want to identify as the actor or with other actors. We want to be the observer watching the actor, watching this play, this crazy game we're in. If you're on the path, I'm here with you. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Thank you. Remember, presence and purification. Come back to the center. Surrender. Acceptance. We can do this. Don't ever give up. Just keep coming back. When you get triggered, when you lose your patience, always come back to the center. And we will let the divine flow through us in the eternal present moment. I am God's eternal love pouring forth. Namaste.